$500,000. That's how much one Flamingo missile costs. The pride of Ukrainian defense, the very one that's supposed to reach Siberia. And it does reach, but not always. And now analyst David X gives a number that makes you, want to close your eyes. Since July 1, out of every 11 Flamingo missiles launched, Russian air defense shoots down 10. That is almost all of them. It would seem like a verdict, Flamingo is ineffective, but no. The Russians themselves admitted that this summer Ukraine began to use its domestically produced FP5 Flamingo cruise missiles more often to strike targets on Russian territory. And the Russian Ministry of Defense still records a hit. At the same time, on the night of August 18, when this statistic about the downing of Flamingo missiles was released, 620 drones flew toward Moscow. And once again, the Wildberries warehouse was hit. So what is it? A real failure of a Ukrainian missile? Or is the Pechiy much more complicated than a single grim number? Let's figure this out honestly in this episode, without rose-colored glasses, but also, without beating ourselves up over it. My name is Pechiy. Let's figure this out together. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel and like this episode. And don't forget to leave your comment to support this YouTube channel. I would really appreciate it. Thank you. So, Russia is currently intercepting almost all Ukrainian FP5 Flamingo missiles using A-50 airborne early warning aircraft. So in the past few weeks, only one or two of these missiles have reached their targets, each of which, let me remind you, costs about $500,000. This is reported by analyst David X for the publication Euromaidan Press. Let's start with the interception method itself, because it explains where such a grim statistic comes from. The Russian Air Force uses A-50U airborne early warning aircraft equipped with radars on the fuselage. They patrol the routes along which Flamingos fly toward targets deep inside Russia and detect them in advance. A telling example, on July 4, it was the A-50U AWACS aircraft that helped ground systems shoot down 5 missiles at once. FP5 was heading toward Votkinsk. That's 1,360 kilometers from Ukraine. Thanks to flying at high altitude, the aircraft detects low-flying targets much earlier than ground-based radars. Well, on July 7, according to this analyst, the Russians probably used 4 such aircraft at the same time to coordinate air defense. After that, almost all Flamingo missiles launched were shot down even earlier. Let me make a very important caveat right away. This very figure, 10 out of 11 missiles, is based only on open source tracking by one cartographer, and there are no official confirmations from either Ukraine or Russia. And there may still be some margin of error in the count. There could also be undisclosed attacks because neither side finds it beneficial to reveal them. So this figure should be treated as an estimate, not as absolute truth, but it also can't be completely ignored. But still, it's clear that the Ukrainian armed forces are definitely betting on the Flamingo. In the summer of 2026, Ukraine began to use Flamingo cruise missiles more frequently to strike targets inside filthy Russia. This is evidenced by data from the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation, analyzed by a Russian news agency. And so, on the night of August 15, not so long ago, Ukraine attacked the Progress Rocket and Space Center in Samara with a Flamingo missile. According to the agency, since June, the Russian Ministry of Defense has claimed to have shot down at least 57 Flamingo missiles. And for comparison, from February to May, this same agency, that is the Russian Ministry of Defense, reported intercepting 31 Flamingo missiles. In the past 2 weeks, the Russian Defense Ministry has already reported at least 25 Flamingo missiles shot down, so their number is clearly increasing in a sort of geometric progression. This summer, the armed forces of Ukraine carried out at least 4 successful strikes on, targets inside Russia using these very FP5 Flamingo missiles. On June 10th, a strike was carried out on Vnir Progress in Cheboksary, which produces modules for kamikaze drones. On June 27th, Ukrainian forces attacked the defense enterprise Titan Barricade in Volgograd. They manufacture launchers for the Yars, Topol-M and Sarmat missile systems there. On July 24, Ukraine struck Kirov, where the Vyatka machine-building enterprise Avitek was attacked. At that time, analysts concluded that 2 missiles hit the plant at once, causing significant damage. In other words, 2 missiles managed to break through the air defense system. And the most recent was the strike on the Progress Rocket and Space Center in Samara on August 15. And now experts are linking the increase in the number of strikes to the expansion of production of these missiles. Let me remind you that the Flamingo missile is a Ukrainian cruise missile with a declared range of up to 3,000 kilometers. It can carry a warhead weighing 1,000 kilograms and reach speeds of up to 900 kilometers per hour. The most distant target for this missile is said to be the Votkinsk plant in Udmurtia. The distance from there to the Ukrainian border is about 1,600 kilometers. In 2025, Firepoint's technical director Irina Terech stated that Ukraine was already producing about 30 such missiles worldwide by that time. And by October, they plan to increase production to 210 units per month. Later, she admitted that they were not able to achieve this goal. But nevertheless, Flamingo is probably gradually becoming the main missile for long-range strikes by the Ukrainian armed forces. Let me remind you, we also have the Neptune missile. But its range is still inferior to this Flamingo missile, and as we can see, it is used much less frequently. Although there is also the long-range Neptune. Here, for example, I have questions for the leadership about why we more often use a missile developed by the private company Firepoint rather than Neptune, a Ukrainian missile developed by Ukraine's defense industry. Well, it's important to note that Ukraine is not sitting idly by after seeing these statistics. No, the same company, Firepoint, according to co-owner Denis Shtillerman, is changing the altimeter settings so that the missiles fly lower. That way they'll be even harder to detect by radar. But so far these changes haven't produced any noticeable results. But at the same time, according to their statements, the company itself has already reached a production rate of about 200 Flamingo missiles per month, and according to Shtillerman they can produce even more. So even if Russia's interception rate is high, the increasing production volume means that the absolute number of missiles reaching their targets can still grow. There is also a broader context that is important to keep in mind, so as not to judge based only on one type of weapon. Analysts claim that only about 5 to 9% of all Ukrainian long-range strike assets make it through the Russian multi-layered air defense system. That is, not just Flamingo, but all types, all drones and all missiles. Of course, that sounds discouraging, but then the analysts add a number that turns everything upside down. Despite this, in July, Ukraine attacked targets deep inside Russia 3 times more often than in January. So even with a low breakthrough rate through air defense, the growing intensity of strikes means that the absolute number of missiles and drones getting through continues to increase. And here is direct, real evidence of this. This is the night of August 18th. The mayor of Moscow, Sergei Sobyanin, stated that from the evening until 5 a.m., 620 drones were flying toward the Moscow region. Out of these, 180 were destroyed directly in the Moscow region. And the governor of the Moscow region, Andrei Vorobyov, reported that more than 100 drones were shot down in Belgorodsky, Ramensky, Pavlovsky Posad, Orekhovo-Zuyevo, Voskresensk, Stupino, Kolomna, and Elektrostal. So the strike hit multiple districts at once, not just a single point. And once again, a drone hit the Wildberries warehouse. This time it was in the Atlant Park area. By the way, the company has already stated that the warehouse only suffered minor damage and the goods were not damaged. But this is not the first and clearly not the last such incident. The armed forces of Ukraine have already destroyed 7 out of Wildberries' 10 largest logistics centers in Russia, and in July, the marketplace lost at least 17 of all its warehouses due to regular strikes. The total losses of the company, the goods stored there, and so on, could already amount to $3.5 billion. So if we add everything up honestly, without embellishment, but also without downplaying it, we see this picture. Yes, specifically regarding Flamingo missiles, the interception statistics are indeed unpleasant. Russia adapted faster than many expected, deploying airborne early warning aircraft specifically against this type of missile. It's not worth keeping this quiet, otherwise the gap between expectations and reality will only hurt more later. But at the same time, you can't pretend that nothing gets through and everything is pointless. No. Confirmed hits by the Flamingo missile on Avitek and at near progress, increasing production volume at Firepoint, and most importantly, the overall trend. That is, the threefold increase in the frequency of strikes deep inside Russia over the past year shows that the overall effect of this entire campaign is only growing, even if the success rate of breakthroughs for a particular missile has temporarily dropped. Well, I hope that they'll tweak the altimeter or add something else so that this missile becomes more effective. Well, and tonight, with 620 drones and yet another strike on Wildberries, it's not about perfect statistics, of course. It's about the fact that the war is felt inside Russia every night. And it doesn't matter how many Flamingos reached Siberia this week, or didn't reach Siberia. It doesn't matter where they went. So yes, it's obvious now. It's obvious that Russians are making a big deal out of this information right now. You know, just to mock Ukrainian weapons. Well, listen, let's be honest. Russians are savages who just want to laugh at something, so let them laugh. That's the main thing. That missiles and drones keep falling on these laughing Russians, let them, yes, they're still not getting through the air defenses as effectively as we'd like yet, but they're getting through. And some of them still reach where they need to go, and they fall right on the heads of these savages. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments under this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye everyone.